this thing on? Yeah, it is. Okay. So let's see where we left off before break. So we created a cave inside of main. The cave constructor, we're storing access to the cave inside of our stats, correct? So that's how we get access to the cave when we need to return to the beginning. We're building the entrance to it. This guy also says the number of rooms and the number of treasures that we got, and then we enter the room. Entering a room says the name of the room, shows us the obvious exits, whether or not it has a Bitcoin. If it does, we collect that and then say that we no longer have a Bitcoin because we've picked up the treasure from that particular room. But for that particular time, it'll still say treasure Bitcoin, so we know that there was a treasure in that room. We can just assume that we will pick it up. So if we ever revisit the room, has Bitcoin will have been set to false. So the next time we visit the room, treasure will be none. And then we prompt them. What does prompt do? Prompt creates our new scanner, asks them what they would like to do, press Q to quit or B to go back to the cave entrance. We'll read in their answer. If they pressed a Q, we say game over, say how many coins they collected. If they press a B, we'll go back to the entrance to the cave by asking stats to give us our global cave, which we put in there, get the entrance, and then enter that entrance. Otherwise, we will take the exit that we entered in, and we're assuming that they enter in a correct exit by this. We can always build in a little error checking if we want, but for right now, we just assume everything is accurate. Okay, so if we run this real quick, here we have a number of rooms. We have a number of Bitcoins as 3, so we want to go and collect them. Oh, we already collected 1 in the first room. We'll press 0. No treasure in this one. Press 0 again. We got another treasure. Let's go 0. Oh, we already got all the Bitcoins, didn't we? Let's go back to the beginning. Oh, we don't know how many Bitcoins are left. We need to say that. Every single time we enter a room, we should say how many Bitcoins are left so we know what we need to collect, right? This is a game. This is cave mining Bitcoin extreme awesome slash.
It's a memory game. You should be able to remember how many you have left.
That's actually not a bad... But at some point it's going to tell us we finished this cave. That's kind of where we're going today. And the orange juice here keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, okay. So we'll go ahead and quit for right now. We collected 3 Bitcoins, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So a couple of things. Let's go into our enter. And we're going to say Bitcoins remaining is going to be equal to stats dot, let me minimize this right now. See, get num treasures, that's the total number of treasures, minus stats dot get collected treasure. That should tell us how many we have left. And we want to put that in parentheses so it actually does it as a math problem. There we go. So if we had 3 treasures and we've collected 2, it should say we have 1 treasure left, 1 Bitcoin left. So now when we run it, oh, yeah, no Bitcoins. Crappy cave. Oh, there we go. All right, well, here, number of rooms is 1, number of Bitcoins is 1, number of Bitcoins remaining. Why do we keep getting crappy rooms? Ah, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so now it's showing us a number of Bitcoins. If we press 0, let's go find a Bitcoin real quick. There's 1. So now we come here, we should have 28 Bitcoins remaining. If we go to another room, we should have 27 because we just collected 1. Make sense? Okay, so now we're seeing our countdown of Bitcoins. Okay, so now to gamify this a bit, right now we have some randomness. For instance, we just ran this thing 3 times. We had a 1-room cave, a 1-room cave, and a 54-room cave. We probably want to have some sort of, accruing, a starting level that then goes to a second level, then goes to a third level. So maybe our starting level has 4 rooms. Okay. How do we make sure that we build a cave that has 4 rooms? Right now we are generating our cave, right? Our cave kind of grows. Well, if we go into cave, right now cave just creates itself. Well, what if we took in for the constructor for cave int num rooms, and then we tried to create this cave multiple times? So this is where we create our first room. So we'll do a do this while stats.get num rooms is not equal to num rooms. So we'll keep generating a cave after a cave after a cave after a cave until we finally get a cave that's the correct size. Each time through, did we not give ourselves a reset method in our stats? We did not. We're going to go ahead and inside of our stats, we're going to have to give ourselves the ability to reset those stats. Because after we generated 1 cave and got a number of rooms, if we're going to generate another one, we need to zero out those number of rooms, right? Otherwise, we're going to get this cumulative effect of having 4 million rooms and blah, 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 and never actually finish. So we'll say public static void reset. And this guy will set num rooms equal to 0, num treasure equal to 0, collected treasure equal to 0, and we'll leave the cave alone. Okay, because we're going to still have it pointed to the same cave. We'll probably evolve this over time. Because right now, when we build this cave, we're not going to build a new cave object each time. We're just going to fill that cave with more rooms, with a new set of rooms each time. But this is still the 1 cave that we created. Okay, so now we can say stats.reset. So before we create a cave, we'll go ahead and reset our stats. The first time we do that, we're actually wasting our time. We're just setting it back to what it originally was, right? Then we're going to try to generate our cave. Because remember, we create the entrance, which is a new room, and each room potentially, here's the constructor for room, each room potentially creates more rooms. Okay, and every single time we create a room, we add a room. All right, so given that, we're going to do this over and over and over again until we finally get a cave that's the correct size. So if I come out here to driver and I say I want to create a cave of size 4, we should have a 100% chance of generating a cave of size 4. And there are no Bitcoins in this cave. Are you serious? Why am I still no Bitcoins? There's some Bitcoins. All right, so I got 3 Bitcoins in this one. So now I can go through and I can finish this cave. I already got my 3 Bitcoins. I can go back to the beginning. Oh man, it was literally a linear cave. Isn't that called a hall? We built a hall. Or a walkway or something like that. Okay, 1 Bitcoin. What the heck? We really having this bad of luck, or is our code broken? Here's 2 exits. Okay, no exits, back to the beginning. Okay, we should have all our Bitcoins now. Bitcoins remaining 0, so we've completed that cave. Okay, now, What we'd like to do is we'd like to now gamify this, where maybe your first cave is of size 4. Second cave may be a size 6, then 8. Maybe it just keeps going up by 2 for levels of caves, right? And we want to keep track of what our current level is. All right? So we start off with a cave size of 4. Well, first thing we need to do is we need to be able to detect when we've beaten a cave. So we've beaten a cave when we've collected all the treasure in a cave. So if I come back to room here, right here is where I'm adding my treasure, correct? I'm sorry, no, in enter. Right here is where I'm collecting my treasure. And if I collect my treasure, then I set that guy to false. No more treasures. Okay? Now, inside of here, I can ask the question. I can say, am I done collecting treasures for this cave? Correct? So I can say, if stats dot get collected treasure is equivalent to stats dot get num treasure. If I've collected all the treasures that exist, I'm a winner. Correct? I'm a winner. Okay, so I want to say winner. System.out.println. Winner. Smiley face. KK thanks.
You can be a winner without any bitcoins.
That is true. That's just bad luck, though. That would only happen in the early levels, more than likely. All right, so now we're going to run this. We do have 2 bitcoins. We've already collected one of them. Go to room 1 now. Ah, I'm a winner. KK, thanks. I've beaten that cave, but yet it's still asking me what I want to do. We probably don't want it to do that. We probably want to say, you're a winner. That means you're prepared for the next difficulty of cave. So it's not going to ask me what I want to do in this cave. I'm not going to run all over the place in this cave that I've already emptied all the treasure out of. Why do I want to be in this cave? I have other caves I can go into mine bitcoins. Right? Okay, so I need to get out of this cave. So if I'm inside this if statement, this guy says, I am a winner. I've collected all the treasures in this cave. See ya. I need to get out of this cave. Well, how do I get out of this cave? In our current setup, I've now traversed. So let's kind of go back to our picture here. So let's say I've gone, I went here, then I went back to the beginning, then I went here, here, here. Well, no, I went here, here. Then I went back to the beginning, then I went here, 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 here. Then I went back to the beginning and went here, 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 here. That's where I became a winner. Okay? So that's what I collected the final treasure. Now I would like to leave this cave, generate a new cave of size 2 larger than the previous cave, and then start working on that cave, upping my current level from level 1 to level 2. And then when I go to a cave of size 8, now I'm level 3, so on and so forth. So how do we do that? So I'm in this room, I just collected the treasure, I asked the question, am I out of treasure? The answer is yes. I don't want it to ask me what I want to do. I don't want it to show me no exits and have to go back to the beginning only to wander through this cave that doesn't have treasure in it. I want to end this guy and go and create a new cave. How would you suggest we pull that off? Well, the starting point is we need to not ask us what we want to do anymore. And where does that happen? That happens here at the end of the enter method. Correct? So we are in the enter method for this particular room. We don't want this to happen. So what are we going to do? If we're a winner, we're just going to return. Okay, we're going to return. Return says this method immediately ends. Now, this method does not have a return type, but I can still return. I can still kill off this method. I didn't return any value. I just said return. That make sense? I watch her do head bobs. It's funny. Your husband didn't say hi to me at church. I was looking forward to the Britishness.
Yes.
He was grumpy?
No, I think he wanted to get home and watch the second part of
Oh, the soccer game? Brits and their soccer.
I know, it's infuriating. Every time it's 0-0, and I walk downstairs, and the game's over, and it's 0-0.
With 4 hours left.
Yeah, and I say, riveting. And
It's riveting.
I just then walk upstairs.
It's okay. My wife says the same thing about golf when I watch it, and also video games when I play it. Oh, big announcement. Big announcement. Elder Scrolls Online, I am now a vampire. See, it's actually quite fascinating. There's a whole online economy there of people gold farming and then selling gold, in-game gold to people. And what they're doing is they're farming all the vampires and werewolves so nobody else can get bitten. Okay? That way people need gold so they could buy a bite from another player. I ended up having to pay 17,000 gold to have somebody bite me at this ritual altar. My wife watched, so it was an event. Pay-per-view. And it's funny, too. The graphics are kind of awesome. Like, the guy starts biting you, just this blood just pouring out, your guy's screaming. That I completed. Then once you get bit, you get to choose. Do I want to do the quest line where I embrace the vampirism? Or do I want to take the stupid route and cure myself? Yeah, so now I can bite people. So now I'm selling vampire bites. It was really cool, though.
Can you just randomly bite people? Or
Actually, I think.
I
I haven't done it yet. I have to get to level 4 vampire skill tree in order to actually bite people. But like I didn't have to do anything I gave him gold, I stood there and he just bit me. So I mean I didn't like have to agree to get bit.
Just
So
randomly
you
walk
can
up
go
to
around
someone.
fighting people and then being like, oh, if you want the cure, I have the cure, but it's like $5.
Like real money.
Oh.
Or 0.01 bitcoins. It's 0.0. Yeah, I mean it's kind of I guess it's kind of interesting, but a game like that is a lot of the players are pretty role-playing-ish. So this guy bites me. He was a member of my guild on there, so I paid him a little bit more than I would pay somebody else, but there's like a big scamming thing where somebody just takes your money and runs off. They might not even be a vampire. So I kind of trusted this guy and paid him a little more. So anyways, at the end, like we're at this ritual thing. You have to be there for him to bite you. He bites me, and then he's like, "You are now my first creation," or something. And he goes through this whole like acting thing. Right? Yeah. So my wife thought that was a bit weird. I think maybe he said I was his first spawn or something. It got a little creepy after I was just screaming. I mean, I was screaming in game, but I was also doing it in real life. I really get into.
The funny thing is, I don't think you did.
I wasn't. I'm not. The cool thing is my ultimate ability as a vampire is I call down like a swarm of bats and stuff, and then I turn into smoke. So I disappear and just leave bats behind to just annihilate the people. And then I go and sneak up behind them and bite them. I will totally do that too. I'm just going to hang out outside the bank at the town and just bite people. Like I was just covered in bank a deposit. And other people were selling werewolf bites. Who wants to be a werewolf? You can be a vampire. You'd rather be a werewolf than a vampire? Why? Than vampires?
They're considered more fierce and feared in the Amish community than the vampires are.
Well, I don't need to be more fierce. I'm a sorcerer. I just light things on fire.
Since when do you become a werewolf by being bit by one?
That's how it works.
All the time. No.
Yeah, it's the
Dear Lord.
lycanthropy disease, right? Whatever it's called.
How do you think?
Yeah.
vampires and werewolves
It's the lineage. It's their
Where
lineage.
do werewolves come from? If anybody like starts watching this video like in the middle or something, they come in on that line. Where do werewolves come from? All right. Well, now it's been decided we're gonna have to have werewolves and vampires in our game at some point. We're not there yet, but somebody's got to protect the
Random
Bitcoin.
events. They go into a cave and all of a sudden you've been attacked by a vampire.
You're bleeding out. You have to spend so many of your Bitcoins to cure yourself. That hurts your treasure chances. And then then they can follow you through the cave. You can be running. To run for your lives.
Have a decreasing timer that you can stay at per room.
And then randomly, some rooms have a wood chipper in them.
Just brutal.
They go, and their Bitcoins are spilling. We're going to do that. Actually, hold on. We're really getting to that. If you saw from another class I'm teaching, we're going to do threads in here. So what we'll do is that particular room, we'll run the wood chipper through a thread. So you have like a period of time. Every like second, you're bleeding out Bitcoins as this wood chipper is just chopping you. So you gotta make your decision on what happens next. Do I go back to the beginning of the cave? That's probably the easy answer, right? But then what if you're like all flustered and stuff? You forgot where was that wood chipper? Don't want to go back in there.
Werewolves are typically created by a curse or affliction.
Yes, somebody
So a
bites
scratch
you.
or a bite, but yes. It's
Oh,
typically
okay, I get it.
Scratch. Ugh.
Potentially.
Curses are typically.
I understand, but it's usually a bite.
In some.
In all.
No. They're the curses too. Curses are big.
It's a curse transferred by
Not necessarily. Some crazy old witch puts a curse on you and
Now you're a werewolf? Only if the witch was a werewolf.
No.
Oh, come on, man. Live in reality. Oh, my gosh.
Come back to reality.
Well, actually, here, let me spin a little bit of an interesting Christian worldview on this. I'm trying to... No. No, this is actually a very interesting book. I would recommend this book. There's I think the author is Michael Connolly, but I might be completely wrong on that. But the name of the book is called Prey, Prey, and it's actually a Christian fiction book. So this guy, it's
God, you didn't say Twilight.
no, it really actually is kind of a fascinating book if you like more of like the vampire werewolf type story type stuff. What this guy's done is he's taken kind of the Book of Revelation. That's kind of the common Christian fiction these days, is they make their own interpretation of the Book of Revelation and try to play out a storyline based on that. Well, this particular book, it's the Nephilim that are protecting the good guys or something like that. But the bad guys, the demons, are werewolves and vampires. That's the demons that the devil has released on the world or something like that. So he's taken some artistic, whatever, but he's just painted that picture that's what they are. Those are the creations of. It's really actually a pretty cool book. And people get turned, so you can learn all about.
So you just took the Diablo 3 lore and just...
Yeah, called it a Christian. It's Diablo 3, but for Christians.
Yeah.
But it actually is a pretty good book. I mean, this is not like a biblical scholarly type of work. This is like an entertainment thing that is based on, there's plenty of Bible scripture type stuff discussed in the book. So I think it's very pro-Christian. Let's go that route. But the storyline they've painted with it is more medieval vampire werewolf type interestingness. So I'd recommend the book. It's Prey. And they're coming out with a sequel because it stops. But I read it when it first came out. Well, I listened to it. So I would recommend it. Okay, so anyways, we need to be aware when we win. So we're going to say we're going to exit this cave after we win. So we should see this happen now. So number of rooms, I'm already a winner. See, look at that. 4 rooms, 1 Bitcoin. It was in the entrance later. And now there's werewolves. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go back now after we've won this cave, and we want to increase to the next level. So we need to now generate a cave of size 6, 1 bigger than it used to be. So we're going to need to keep track of some additional stats. We need to keep track of current level. So we start off level 1. Then we need to keep track of the current cave size. So initially, current cave size will be 4, right? Then we need to keep track of the, then we need to deal with building new caves and that kind of stuff. So let's go into stats. Let's add some more fields. So we're going to say private static int cur level. And we'll start this off at 1. Private static int cur max rooms. Well, cur max rooms is kind of misleading because we want exact rooms. It's just called cur total rooms. And I'm going to start that off at 0 for right now because we're going to require them to set that. That way it's tunable. Okay. When we reset, we're not going to reset the level or the cur total room, so we're going to leave these guys alone. We're going to say public static void set cur total rooms. And this guy's going to take an int r as a parameter. Well, actually, let's be int num rooms as a parameter. Why can't we? Well, let's call it total rooms. And we'll set cur total rooms equal to total rooms. So that's how we'll set it. Then we need a getter. Public static int get cur total rooms. And this guy will return cur total rooms. Okay. Okay, then we want to have a method to set the level. So we're going to say public static. Actually, we want a setter and getter probably. Set let's see, add level. Public static void add level. And we'll say cur level plus plus. And then we need a public static int get level that returns cur level. Okay, so we added 2 fields, a cur level and a cur total rooms, and then we added the 4 setters and getters for those 2 fields. Okay. Now, if we're going to keep building new caves for each individual level, we're going to need somebody, some object to govern the building of caves. So we're going to call that our game object. So we're going to create another object called game. Now game is going to have a private cave, cur cave. And when we first create a game, public game, we're going to set stats. Stats.set cur total rooms equal to 4. Because that's going to be, we've decided our game supports the level 1 is 4. we'll also say stats.set. Can we do a, oh wait, no, we levels already starts off at 1, so we're fine there. So then we're going to say this dot cur cave is equal to a new cave stats.get cur total rooms. That's the number of rooms that will be in our cave initially. Make sense? Okay. Now, we're going to make a small change to our cave. Right now, the constructor for cave actually puts us into that first room. We're not going to do that anymore. Similarly, the number of rooms and the number of bitcoins in the cave, we're not going to put here. We're going to put that someplace else. We're going to put all 3 of those things someplace else, actually. So all this guy inside of cave is going to do is ensure that we create a cave of the correct size. Okay? Then, inside game, we're going to have a public void start method to start the game. And for starters, this guy is going to go ahead and print out the number of rooms and the number of bitcoins that's in the current cave. And then it's going to say this dot curcave dot get entrance dot enter. It'll put us in that first room. Make sense? Now, when I get to here, I have finished a cave. Because this line right here blocks. We do not get to this next line until this guy finishes. And that guy finishes when all the rooms finally return. Make sense? And actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this if statement outside of whether or not we have a Bitcoin. I'm going to put it before our prompt. So this if structure here says, if there's a Bitcoin, go ahead and collect it, set the Bitcoins to false. Otherwise, set treasure to none. We'll ask the question afterwards to ensure that all the other rooms that now have lost Bitcoins can accurately exit. Because ultimately, we want every single room, the next time we enter them, to finally return. And when they return, that's going to put us right here, when this line finally finishes. That make sense? Okay. Then what do we do? Well, when we're here, we know we need to go on to the next level. So go to the next level is what we want to do. How do we do that? We need to say stats dot add level. So now we're 1 level higher. Now, when we added a level, let's go back into stats, all we did is increased level. Per level plus plus. But don't we also want to say cur total rooms plus equals 2? When we go up a level, we also want our total number of rooms in the next cave to be 2 higher than it used to be. Correct? Okay, so we'll do both of those inside of add level. Go back to game. So we just added a level. Now we need to create a new cave. So we'll say this dot cur cave is equal to a new cave. So we're done with the old cave. Now we want a new cave. And the new cave should have size stats dot get cur total rooms. Right? And then how do we start the game for this new cave? Call this .start. This .start knows how to show us the number of rooms of the new cave, show us the number of Bitcoins, enter the cave, so on and so forth. And what I'm going to do right here at the very beginning of start is I'm going to, let's see, how do we want to do this? Inside room, I'm going to comment out this winner line for right now. We'll leave it in there just to remind us what's happening in here. But I'm going to steal this line. And we're actually going to put it inside of game. So the very first thing that we do when we start the game is we're going to have a little loop for int I is equal to 0, I is less than, let's say 80, I plus plus, system.out.println, the empty string. And then we'll print out the winner thing. Actually, we don't want to do winner there. Let's just print out new cave for right now, because we don't really have a definition of winner versus loser. So we'll just say new cave after we've printed out 80 lines to kind of clear the screen, if you will. Okay?
Don't you want the new cave after the for loop?
Yes, I do. See, I was testing you. It's a little bit of a delay, but you passed. Okay, so print 40 blank lines to clear the screen. You can, or 80 blank lines to clear the screen. You just pick some number. I just picked 80. Then we'll print out new cave. We'll print out the stats for that new cave. And then we'll go into the entrance of that cave. Keep doing that over and over and over again until we finally get past that cave. Then we can add our level, move on to the next cave. So to play our game now, we're not going to, inside of driver, we're no longer creating a cave. Instead, we're creating a game. So we're going to say game, the game is equal to a new game. And then we'll say the game dot start to enter that first cave. Okay, so we created a new object called game that governs the initial cave as well as all future caves, as well as our level. Okay? So we'll go ahead and run this. We're in a new cave. Number of rooms is 4, number of Bitcoins 2. So let's go and collect them. Here's our first Bitcoin. We got one of them. No Bitcoins there. Back to the beginning. There's our next Bitcoin. Okay? So now we're... Why did it go up by 2? Did I say times equals? Or did I say plus equals?
You said plus equals.
Well, then why is the number of rooms 8?
You did say plus equals.
Are you lying? Oh, there was no Bitcoins in our second cave. We skipped level 2. We found the magic whistle in Super Mario Bros. 3. We warped right to level 3. See that? There was no Bitcoins in that room, in that cave. So we avoided it and went on to cave 3 with 8. Oh, we have 5 Bitcoins in this one. Jeez. 0, 0, 0. We got 3, 4 of them already. 5. We got 5 of them already. Now we're in a new cave with 10 rooms. So on and so forth. Okay? So, that's how we can go from cave to cave to cave to cave. Now, every single time we beat a cave, it is at that point that we should get credit for all the Bitcoins we've collected up to that point. Not during the cave. Okay, so we want to have kind of a running total of total treasure collected. That way, when we finally incorporate the werewolves, the vampires, and the wood chipper, we have something to shake out. Right? I mean, otherwise, there's no risk. You just stand there and take it. But there's got to be a, excuse me. I had a big breakfast. Actually, I didn't want to have. Oh my gosh, I had chocolate cinnamon toast crunch. That was pretty legit stuff. And I just melted some butter and dumped it on it. Figured that could only make it better.
And bacon?
No bacon. I'm out of bacon at the house.
Disappointing.
I know. No, seriously, my wife, she instituted this whole empty cupboard challenge. So we just have to eat all this non-bacon crap that's in the house. So of course I ate all the bacon first. Now I'm out of bacon. I should have rationed my bacon. That way the bacon would last me.
What do you get if you complete the challenge? More bacon?
I have no idea. I think we're allowed to go grocery shopping. Right now we're only allowed to get milk, things that readily spoil is what we're allowed to get at the grocery store right now. Although technically she cheated. Yeah, I was in the middle of class last night. I taught my grad class, which met in the evening, so that class was on, even though you guys didn't have class yesterday. And she posted on Facebook in the middle of class, because she went to Target and she found all this Easter candy. She came home with it. She got some coconut truffles or something like that. And I guess she really liked those. She ate the whole box in the first night. Now she's looking at ordering them in bulk online. Like by the pallet. That'd be pretty funny. My wife orders a pallet of chocolates. My wife's little. It's like 5'4", 115, 120 pounds. Not after a pallet of chocolate, she won't be. Things are going to get out of control. When I first married her, I told her I couldn't stay married to a fat chick. Could you imagine that that lawyer or the judge in divorce court? Look at you. I bet you I'd get on to, I don't know, one of the shows, Maury Povich or Letterman.
Judge Judy.
Judge Judy. Oh man, Judge Judy would rip me apart. If that was the case, she'd have the bailiff come and beat me. That would actually be a really funny episode. I'd watch it. All right, so we can keep going from room to room, from cave to cave to cave, collecting our coins. So now we want to collect our total number of coins. So we're going to have a private, this is in stats, static, int, what should we call this guy? Stash. Bitcoin stash. All right.
Why are you capitalizing coin? Bitcoin's one word. Come on.
Well, because that's what I do for all my variables.
Bitcoin's one word.
Deal. Deal. All right. So Bitcoin stash starts off at 0. So now we want to have the ability to actually, we don't even need to. When we say next level, so let's say static int get stash. This guy will return Bitcoin stash. And then what we'll do is we'll add to our level. When we increase our level, we go up by 1 level, we go up by total number of rooms. Then we want to also add to our stash. So we'll say Bitcoin stash plus equals collected treasure. before we zero it back out. Make sense? Okay. And then what we can do is back in game, we print out the number of rooms. Let's also then print out our total stash. Get stash. Okay, so we should see that number being a running total as we go from cave to cave to cave. But we don't get the stash until we beat the cave. All right, new cave, 4 rooms, 4 bitcoins. Oh, okay. Exit 0, exit 0. 1. Hold on, I'm in the, oh here, I'm in a new cave now. I think I might have just beat 2 caves in a row by accident. I did. I thought I was still in the first cave and I beat cave 2. That's how savant mode I was in. I accidentally won a game I wasn't even playing. Okay, so I'm in the 3rd cave now. Number of rooms is 8, number of bitcoins is 5. I've already collected 7 bitcoins for my first 2 levels. Okay, I have 5 bitcoins remaining in this particular cave. So let's go collect those guys. Okay, got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, hold on, what happened? What happened? Am I in a new cave already? No, I'm not. I'm lost. I'm lost. Oh, that's why I gotta go here. Okay, now I'm in my new cave. So now I've collected 12 total bitcoins, so on and so forth. So now I can go from cave to cave to cave to cave, collecting bitcoins. Okay. So as it currently stands, the number of total collected bitcoins would be that's our running total, right? To see how we stand against everybody else, kind of like Flappy Birds, right? So, you know, it's the farthest you get through the game. So now for the world rankings for the 300 Cave Crawler Extreme, this is the extreme version since we're going to be adding werewolves and vampires. The thing. We're going to have some sort of online rankings for total caves. And then, or a total stash collected. Okay, so given this, we have an issue. As it currently stands, when we run this game, it generates the cave of size 4, then it generates the cave of size 6, and it generates the cave of size 8, so on and so forth. Well, the problem is that, let's just say, this is obviously going to happen, we'll deal with a microcosm of this business model, that it's just us in here that are competing for the world championship for this cave crawler. Okay? I mean, obviously it's going to go crazy and everybody in the App Store is going to be, going to have this. And it's going to be the next Flappy Birds. It's going to be epic. And we're going to keep it text-based, so we stay a little old school. So in any case, it would only be fair if everybody is doing the same puzzles. Correct? Right now, me and State Farm be playing this game, and when we get to level, 14 or something like that, we're dealing with a, here, let's go smaller. So let's say we're dealing with the number of rooms is 10. Well, our cave should be identical in order for it to be a fair fight, correct? Okay, so, or at least you can make that argument. You can make the argument that all the caves should be the same caves so that memory gets you through them. We probably would eventually want to add another level of difficulty here, though, where you have so many moves per cave before you lose. correct? So we kind of have two things we need to add. Because as it stands right now, you have an infinite number of moves for each cave. So you can literally map out the cave on paper and know you can beat every single cave with enough time. But if we give them a number of rooms to beat the cave, or a number of moves, rather, to beat the cave, that might be more difficult. How many moves do we give them?
Moves equal to the number of moves.
One less than they need.
Well, moves is equal to number of treasure. Good luck. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, do we necessarily want all the caves to be the same?
As long as you have an equal number of bitcoins in each cave, it really shouldn't matter.
Maybe that's it. Maybe the caves stay the same, but the bitcoins are randomly generated. So a cave has a room structure, and it has a number of bitcoins, but those bitcoins are distributed throughout the cave. That's a possibility. We're actually going to come back to that because that'll hurt where we're going with the lesson. So we're going to say that every cave is the same for right now. Okay? Even though we think we might be going a different direction that in the end. So we need to be able to represent our caves as identical caves. We'll worry about the number of moves later as we continue to gamify this. That means we need to represent our cave in some sort of interesting way. Right now we're growing caves. We're passing in a 4 and we're saying grow a cave of size 4. And what is it doing? It's generating cave after cave after cave after cave until it finally gets a cave of size 4 and says, this is the cave. Well, we want to eventually generate all of our caves from one central source. So we'll generate our 1 4 cave, our 2, or our next 6 cave, our 8 cave, and we'll have a collection of these caves. And those caves then need to be able to be represented in some way that we can read them back in. So each person who's playing the game is always using the same caves, rather than relying on it randomly generating a cave. So we need to have a data representation language for holding information about our cave. So as an example, I have something up here already. We might decide that we represent a cave like this. So this is in a JSON-like format. Okay, so we're going to say this whole thing is a cave. Every cave has 1 room in it. And every room has a treasure or doesn't have a treasure and then has 0, 1, or 2 more rooms. Right? Okay, so this is simplified JSON because usually this would probably be inside of an array, but we're going to say arrays don't exist in our version of JSON. So this is what our code looks like. This is what our data representation looks like for a cave. So this would generate a cave with 3 rooms in it. The entrance, and that entrance has a treasure, and then that entrance has 2 rooms leading off of it. Neither of those rooms have a treasure, and neither of those rooms have other rooms. Okay? So if we give some definition to this, we'll call this guy cave JSON. A cave has 1 room. That's the total, we'll say 1 room. That is the total contents of a cave, is a single room. Now what's a room? A room is treasure and 0 to 2 rooms. Those are exits. Well, let's say 0 to 2 exits, where those exits are also rooms. So each of those exits follows the same structure. Does that make sense? So we need to have the ability to read in from this structure and build the cave from it. Right now we have one constructor for our cave. That is a constructor that takes in a number of rooms, and we grow a cave of that size. We want to have an alternative constructor for a cave. We want to have an alternative that takes in a JSON file like this. Well, a JSON file like this, and creates the cave that has an entrance, and that room has one treasure, and then that room also has 2 exits, neither of which have treasures or other exits. So we'd like to take this input and generate the cave representation of this guy. Does that make sense? Okay, that way we can play cave scripts in the future. We can build a cave and have everybody's cave application, cave crawler application, load that particular cave rather than grow the random cave. So in order to do that, we're going to need to represent our cave structure in this JSON language, probably in a file. We'll then read that file in, and then we have to process it. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is inside of our package, I'm going to create a new file. And we're going to call this guy cave.dat. It's going to be the data for our file. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this right here. All right, so that is my current JSON. And we want to be able to read this in. So I'm going to actually start out inside of driver for reading it in. So we'll undo our game for right now. Just comment those out. So all that driver is going to be responsible for right now is reading in from that file and spitting it back out to the screen, proving we can read in from the file. Okay? So what we're going to do is, we're already used to using a scanner, right? Scanner input is equal to new scanner. The constructor for scanner takes an input stream. So for instance, we have passed it previously system.in, which is the input stream that's associated with the keyboard. Well, in this case, we're going to create a file input stream called the file. And this guy's going to be a new file input stream cave.dat. All right, so we're going to need to import both of these. This is going to be in java.io. So we'll import java.io file input stream. Then we need to import java.util for our scanner. And then when we build the scanner, we're going to pass it. Actually, instead of calling it the file, let's call it fizz. File input stream. So we'll pass this guy fizz. All right. Now it's screaming at me because we might have a exception, file not found exception associated with this guy. All right. But we're lazy, so we're just going to throw that. Rather than do a try catch. We'll eventually do a try catch, but we're just looking for a quick example of reading in from a file. Okay, so we'll have our file input stream, we have our scanner, and now we're going to say while input dot has next, as long as there's another line to read in, let's just do system.out.println input.next line. Okay. And I'll go ahead and run this, and I think this is actually going to give us that exception. Okay, because it can't find that file. And this actually has something to do with how Eclipse's file structure works. So in order to get this to work in the quickest way possible, if we were just doing this out the command line and we just had cave in the same directory, no harm, no foul. The problem is that Eclipse stores all the source files inside of a directory called source and all the executables inside of a directory called bin. So we're just going to provide it the full path to this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that real quick. So there's our cave.dat. All right. So I've just walked to where my Eclipse workspace was into the source folder. And I'm going to go ahead and print out present working directory here. If you're on a Windows machine, just go into wherever your Eclipse workspace folder is, and you should be able to copy the full path to it up at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this right here. And we're going to paste it in here and put an extra slash there at the end for cave.dat. And now it should be able to read in that file. So my thing is inside the Dropbox and all that stuff, so that's why this path is so long. You might have it much more local than this. So your full path to it might not be that long. But now I should be able to read in the contents of that file. Now that I told it exactly where to put it. That makes sense? Okay. Now, for homework. You guys are going to hate this assignment. I can just say you can either read the book Pray for Thursday or I don't know which one would take you longer. So this will be homework number 8. Using the attached code as your starting point. So I'll give you the current version of the program. Make sure to update driver.java with the correct full path to your cave.dat file. You can test this with the current state of the program, since when you run it, it should display the contents of that file. So keep updating this string right here until you get it set right for your computer, such that it prints out when you run this the contents of that file. That means it worked. That means you're working with the right stuff. Okay? And here, I'll actually give you a little bit more to work off of here. I'm going to create a string called the JSON. I'll start that off as the empty string. And what I'm going to do is I'll say the JSON plus equals input dot next line. And then what I'll do is at the very end, after I've collected all that stuff into that single string, I'll do a system.out.println the JSON. Okay? So now my output looks like that. It's all the contents of that file stored in a single string. Okay? So this is going to be a string parsing exercise. So, read the stuff in. Write a parser for our JSON format such that it reads from the string we created in, well, here, I'm not even going to tell you necessarily how I want you to do it. Write a parser for our JSON format such that it spits out to the screen the breakdown of, or breakdown for our cave. In the given case, the output should be cave, room, treasure equal to true, room, treasure equal to false, room, treasure equal to false. Like that. So just proving you were able to parse through that string. So we have a top level cave. Inside that cave, we have a top level room. Inside that room, we have a treasure, as well as 2 additional rooms. So notice that these rooms are at the same indentation level. If you want to format this a little differently, you can. But I want you to parse the things so that you can read in who has a room inside of who. Does that make sense? All right. And I'll attach the code. So it's 300 cave crawler. So I guess I'd say you can represent this however you'd like to represent it. But know that your next assignment is going to be actually turn it into a cave structure. Okay, so you're going to need to read it in enough detail that you can then turn it into a cave structure. Questions, comments, concerns, bribes? What kind of bribe? I don't know, what you have in mind? I'm open to suggestions. All right, new max score. All right. I'm smuggling bacon into the house. All right, so I'll see everybody on Thursday.